All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. Today is Wednesday, March 19th of 2025. Looking ahead here, we have a big 11-game NBA main slate. We have a 2-game NHL main slate, and then we have golf teeing off early tomorrow morning. So I'm sure plenty of people will be building their golf lineups this evening. But for those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew. I'm one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS related questions. Get your questions in one of three ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there is a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim teams. Can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then we do this show on Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So tune in any one of those days, get your questions answered. All right. We do have plenty of questions here to get us started today. Looks like the first one came in the YouTube chat a little bit ago from Peter. So we're just going to be working through these from the top down. Why don't we get SaberSim up here and then we will get started. So first question, in Flashback, never able to see 150 of someone's lineups. The range I saw today was 5 through 113. I also see no way to export data from Flashback. Are any of these deficiencies on the roadmap for beta? Okay, so let's just go back to yesterday and see what we can see. So we'll go back to the 18th. We'll go to the NBA main slate, 4-game main slate, and then we'll look at 150 max. So we got this $18 150 max. Let's see, 19,000 entries should be fine to load. Strange. Okay, interesting. So, in case this happens to somebody else, contest is listed twice here, and I just clicked on the bottom one, and that one worked. All right, so let's go see who 150 max this. Okay. Let's look at people 150 max. Okay. Aaron, congrats to Aaron, SaberSim user here. Let's say that, we want to go and look at Aaron's lineups, right? So plus magnifying glass on Aaron. And then we go to leaderboard. And we should be able to see all 150 of their lineups. I mean, I don't really want to count them all. But maybe if we expand this, might be easier. Or actually, let's just close projection. No, let's open that up. Okay, cool. That works. So it looks like we can get 3 per row. And then, we could obviously scroll here. 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Starting to skip a little bit. I don't know how to for sure make sure, other than counting, that we could see them all. But you should be able to see them all if you do it this way. If you go to users, we look at the 150 maxer. Let's go back to that. So users plus magnifying glass, their lineups should show up in leaderboard. It does say 150. I'm going to assume. I didn't count it, so I'm not 100% sure. And then aside from that, you could also go to the projections panel if you want to. And then okay, when I click plus magnifying glass, these are the exposures of the player that we are filtered for. So he had 100% Damian Baugh, 60% Mark Williams, right? And then if I click plus magnifying glass again, it goes back to just regular ownership. Let me know if you're doing that and it's not working. Best thing to do is to go to the top right, go to report a problem, let us know hey, I'm trying to look at all 150 lineups. It says 150, but when I check it out, it's not actually all of them. That would probably be the best way to get some troubleshooting advice. Second part of the question, I also see no way to export data from Flashback. Exporting data from Flashback is something that is available on Elite. Now, if you are on Elite, you should have that capability in the contest page, which is this request data export button. If you click this, then there's a couple different things you could do. You could do Flashback or you could do projections, and then there are time frames. You could filter it by different sports. You know, you want classic, you want showdown, you want certain prize pools, right? And then this will be like a list of things that you've downloaded in the past, and then or we could do projections for a certain sport type from X date to X date. So if you're on Elite and you see this request data export button, that is how you do it. But again, if you're having trouble with it, no worries. We're happy to help you out. Just go to report a problem, let us know, and then we can help you from there. Okay, Peter's here. Peter said, thanks. I was doing okay, he was doing different contest. List viewing helps, but counting would be a pain. Agreed for sure. Elite, I'm on Ultimate. Little research. Thanks. Cool. Awesome. Glad we were able to like get you the answers you needed on that one. Cool. But all right, moving on. I know it's based on risk tolerance, but what do you think about going with only 1 or 2 uniques in a 20 max NBA contest? I think it's fine. You know, think about it like this. Like, you know, mini uniques is a tool in your toolbox. Doesn't mean you got to pull it out and use it if you don't want to, right? You know, maybe you don't need your hammer today, right? You could use your hammer, you know, if you want to, but maybe you're like fine, you know, doing something else, right? Like, hey, maybe you're going to use your drill and your screws instead of your hammer and your nail today, right? It's totally fine. You're still, you know, putting the board up or sheet or whatever you want to do. So I think that's a fine way of thinking about it, but it is okay to not utilize the mini unique tool and stay more concentrated, right? That's really all you're doing. Your lineups are going to be more correlated. Your exposures are going to be a little bit more concentrated. Your player pool is probably going to be tighter. If you are fine with all of those things, then by all means, leave mini uniques at 1, leave it at 2, whatever you want. You don't have to go up to 3, 4, 5 if you don't want to. All right. Next question. Dear Andrew, really enjoying the content. I was hoping you could walk me through your process for entering a single bullet into a high stakes contest. To use a specific example, let's consider the FanDuel hang times. They are not running the monster tonight with a 222 entry fee and approximately 1,000 entries. I'd be interested to hear how you would approach selecting your lineup for this contest. For sure. So, and just like to preface this, right? Like I'm going to show you guys what I do, right? This is exactly what I did last night. I put one lineup into the DK 222 last night, this Slam Jam. And if you don't believe me, you can go in here, sort by users. And look, if you sort by sim ROI, I had one lineup, 76%, and I was like 3rd on this list, right? Out of, you know, people who entered 1 or more lineups, right? So I'm going to show you exactly what I did for this NBA 222 last night, but I'll show you for the FanDuel 222 tonight. So we go to today, go to this 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time main slate, and I'm going to switch this contest sim from the $7 to the 222. So I'm going to enable this one, right? So I have the right we're putting 1 bullet, right, into the 222. Okay, go to user entries, put 1. All right, go back to my build. So big slate here, right? Where I would start is with the value tab. Like, hey, where are the value spots tonight? Nothing insane, but some value, not too much, like about as much as you'd expect late in the NBA season. I'd probably go through here and like look at all the questionable players. You can even filter for status. Like, hey, you know, who are we watching tonight? And I mean, this list is crazy, right? Jokic, Halliburton, Hartenstein, Siakam, Murray, Pippen, Wiggins, Curry, Christian Brown. A lot of these guys, if you guys play regularly, a lot of these guys were out, 2 days ago, right? Like Jokic was out, Halliburton was out. I think Hartenstein played. Siakam was out, Murray was out, Pippen was out, Wiggins was out. And, I would basically keep my eye on these players, right? Make some notes, write it down like, hey, let's make sure we check the status of these players because, if Jokic gets ruled out, that's obviously going to be huge for Denver, right? And I just kind of want to be aware of when that happens. You could do it, status-wise. You could do it value-wise. You could go team by team if you want to, right? And see, who's rolled out today. Or there's a number of different ways you could chop this up depending on how much time you want to invest in this. And that's where I would start, right? Just getting an idea of spots that we need to be aware of. And then from there, I would adjust any settings I want to. It's a big 11-game slate. I don't see the need to adjust min or max salary anymore. To be honest, I've actually been like kind of toying with the idea of lowering min salary later in the season. Basically when there's like huge value plays, when your min salary is like high, there's almost only so many players you can get to. Like, for instance, on like Monday, Indiana had a bunch of players out, and like you could have successfully played anywhere from like 3 to 5 Pacers in any lineup. But like when you did that, you were limited, and your min salary was high. You're kind of limiting the amount, the certain players that you could get to fill out the rest of the lineup. So with some of these like huge value slates, I've actually been lowering minimum salary like a couple thousand to like allow for more combinations of lineups. I don't see the need to do that yet. I would keep my eye on like statuses and stuff. And, if we start seeing players in the 7, 8, 9 values, players getting ruled out left and right, I would actually open up my salary band and drop it maybe to like 57,000 or something like that to allow for more combinations. So I'm going to leave it for now though. And again, build as many lineups as your plan allows. I'm just going to build 500 for time here. I like to set a small projection filter, no rules, and I'd be ready to go, right? And I'm going to click build lineups here. So mostly just up front and getting familiar with the slate, understanding potential late swap spots, potential value players that are popping up. I want the slate to make sense. Why am I seeing exposure to this person? Oh, it's because of this reason. Or if I'm not sure, like, okay, this is kind of weird, I might want to tread carefully here, right? So anyways, these 500 lineups, just about done. Going to click run contest sim. And we'll let this run real quick. Going to sort by exposure. Cool. Contest sim is done. Going to go sort by the contest I need to. Have an average projection aggregate metric. Going to set up an average ROI one. All right. So the way I build one lineup is how I like to look at 3. And I just like to see, what players I'm seeing the most of. Am I comfortable with these players? And there's a couple different ways you could do this, right? You just look at like the top 3 lineups. These lineups are so close. Like if we expand this a little bit, these 2 lineups, right? 207% ROI, 204%, just about like very, very close, like 0.6 projection difference. I don't think they're like one's that much better than the other. So I like to analyze like a few lineups. There's a couple of different ways I might do this. I might say, show me 3 lineups with 3 uniques, right? And it looks like our top 3 lineups are that. Like, what does 4 uniques look like? Okay, they all have 4. Do they have 5? Okay, they all have 5 players different from one another. That's like really good, right? It's like already over half the lineup, since FanDuel lineups have 9 players. They have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So already half the lineups already guaranteed different. So that's kind of fine, right? as long as I might just like spot check these players a little bit, maybe comparing like pool and ownership, making sure like nobody's kind of sneaking in here, but everything looks fine to me. We don't have any player in all three lineups. I would probably be fine playing any one of these three. And then what I would do is I would use unique random, and then I would go select my contest and I would save it. And then I would just say, I'm basically okay playing any one of these three lineups. If you want to just play the top one, cool, I go for it. If you want to, pick one of these, that's fine too. If you want to open this up to 10 lineups and scroll through them and pick your favorite, there's no right answer here. It's kind of whatever makes the most sense to you. For me, finding three candidate lineups that are different from each other via min uniques, and then taking any one of those three is perfectly fine with me. That's how I like to do it. So yesterday I had three lineups, and I ended up unique randoming myself into the last lineup, and then that was the lineup that I went with, and then ran late swaps and stuff like that. Yeah, didn't play the one lineup the entire time, but late swapped accordingly, and that's what I went with. So that's how I'd be building a lineup for the FanDuel 222 tonight. All right. Good start there. Kind of question from like a little bit similar vein. I'm multi-entering on FanDuel, almost all single entry and mass entry lineups up to the $3 max for today's main slate. Any hints for uniques or late swap will be appreciated. So with uniques, right? It's always trying to find a balance between, for me, three things: exposure, leverage, aggregate metrics. You want to take stands up to your risk tolerance, right? Like some people might see this and be like, hey, well, let's expand this, right? Let's go back to one unique. Let's go to 20 lineups. So say I'm playing 20 lineups, right? Some people might say, hey, 80 exposure to a player is just way too much for me. I just never want to have this much exposure. 42% leverage. I want to crank up my uniques, right? Some people might say, hey, yeah, we're taking a stand on this one player, but they seem like a pretty good play. I'm kind of okay with it, right? So that's why like there's no right answer here. For me, if I can get diversification in my lineups and sacrifice little to no projection and ROI, that is the perfect thing I want to do, right? So here I go from one unique to 4, and my top exposure comes down slightly. But here, right, I'm at 319 projection, 149 ROI. Going to 4 uniques gets me to 319.2 and 141 ROI. So I dropped like 8% ROI, but I've guaranteed a lot of diversification, right, in my lineups. And I go one more, right? I go to 5. Okay, my ROI is down to 125 from 149. My projection's down about 2 points. I probably wouldn't go any further than this, but here, I think I've spread out my exposures enough. I haven't really added any players to my player pool. I went from 49 to 51. My top exposures from 80 to 65. I'm still taking some stands, taking a stand on Rookie Council, taking a stand on Butler, taking a stand on Isaiah Joe, right? Where we're like over the field by like 20%. But I like it. I think it's good. So, you got to figure out what makes sense to you. And then whatever number you use, it's fine to just carry that number over into late swap. Remember, as games lock, right? You're locking in your diversification because the players there's less and less players available to be swapped out. So it's going to be easier to get to the same number of uniques. Now, what I do, right, is I come in to late swap and then I start back at 1 and then I'll save my lineups. Now, if I go to late swap and I save and I'm at 1 unique and maybe I'm not doing good so far, and maybe my ROI is at like 5%, then I'll leave it at 1, right? I don't want to get diversification if it means that my ROI is going to go into the negative. But if I'm doing good and my ROI is like 150, okay, I might be willing to go up in unique. So basically it's set unique, save, look at how my metrics change, look at my exposures. Okay, update my unique, save, look at how my metrics change. So I always start at 1. It's pretty quick to go like save, check, adjust, save, check, adjust, save, check, adjust as many times as I need to. But when I'm not doing good, I'm good with less uniques. When I'm doing It's all kind of on the account of like, how are my top exposures doing and things like that. All right, next question. Do you help people with their lineups? So we take a little bit more of a teach a man to fish rather than feed a man to fish approach, right? So my goal here is to show you how to build good lineups. You know, we do a slate demo every day. We're not like doing slate breakdowns and telling people, you know, this is the guy you should play today or anything like that. So mostly just trying to trust the tools. All right, Big J said, I have a simple question on direct fill under the lineup. What does sim optimals mean? Good question. So sim optimals is a summary statistic that tells you that this was the best lineup that came from the sims X amount of times. So for instance, you see this more in like showdowns. Well, you know, every time we build a showdown lineup, right, we're taking a single sim from the database, playing it out, and we're building the best lineup, right? It's we also call it the optimal lineup. For this game simulation, this was the optimal lineup. Well, just because the group of players came up once doesn't mean they can't come up again. Like a group of players I'm talking about showdown specifically right now, right? Is like, say we go to, you know, the Dodgers Cubs Tokyo series, right? You're building lineups for this, okay? And then you go into your gear icon, you see the sliders like 0-10, right? Well, just because we are simulating the game, right, doesn't mean that a group of 6 players can't be the best group of 6 players for more than one sim, right? Maybe it's, you know, gosh, I don't even know who pitched today. Is this? There were projections earlier. I was messing around with this. Let's see. And let's open a new build. All right, so let's just run a build, and I'll talk about this because I want to like have a lineup to demo it with. And while that runs, we'll make sure check on questions in the office hours channel. So let's let this showdown build run. And cool. All caught up so far over here. All right, this build's almost finished. So sim optimals comes from the lineup building process, okay? You don't have to do anything special with contest sims or anything like that, right? So here are top lineup, okay? Sasaki, captain, Pajes, Hap, Rojas, Smith, Muncy has a sim optimals of 2. So that means when we were trying to build you out 500 lineups, this exact group of 6 players with Sasaki in the captain and these other 5 in the utility came up not only once as the best lineup, but it came up twice. Okay. So we're not going to put the same lineup into your pool more than once, but that information is kind of important because it talks to like the win probability of the lineup, the viability of the lineup. So what we do is we basically tally the information as sim optimals. And then in your single game saber score, we use that as a variable. So sim optimals, projection, and ownership are the 3 variables that the single game saber score uses. So that's what sim optimals is, and that's why it's important. And that in the Discord and the YouTube chat. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern for our next show. So until then, everybody take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.